Coming up in the Bahamas tonight, a midday shooting sparks terror in a southern New Providence neighborhood and the 127th murder investigation. Grand Bahama parliamentarians address new concerns about job losses on the island, and a fire leaves a family of 6 without a home. Find out how you can help. All those stories and more straight ahead in the Bahamas tonight.
Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Good evening and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the National Report. I'm Keishla Adderley. Thanks for joining us. Topping the news this evening, a young man was shot and killed this afternoon, marking the 127th murder on record this year. Eyewitnesses say the victim was ambushed as he carried out a routine task in his Fire Trail Road neighborhood. Neighbors were left shocked by the event, which is the climax of the most violent year on record. Stephen Gay reports.
The country's murder count is now 127 after a man is gunned down in the Fire Trail Road area of the capital. Police say that they received a call around 1 p.m. Friday that a man had been shot through Fire Trail Road near to Harper Street, not far from the Fire Trail Road convenience store, and that his body was lying in the middle of the road. That scene had not changed by the time our news team arrived at the crime scene. Officer in charge of the National Crime Prevention Office, Superintendent Stephen Dean.
Police officers responded. Arriving at the scene, they met a male who appeared to be lifeless with an apparent gunshot wound to the body. Police, EMS were called, and they examined the body, and they confirmed that he was lifeless. At this stage, police are very early in the investigations. We cannot tell. We know it's a male. We don't have no circumstances. Detectives are on the ground right now canvassing the area along with uniformed officers from the Southwestern Division. They are doing door-to-door, trying to ascertain whether we can determine or get any witnesses to piece this together. We are confident that we will be able to determine a motive. We are confident that we will be able to determine who might be responsible.
Now, while at the scene, numerous police officers could be seen conducting their investigations, but also busy trying to clean up a large puddle of blood. With police being tight-lipped with their initial findings, one area resident and political hopeful, Ali McIntosh, who lives just a stone's throw away from the crime scene, spoke with ZNS News and gave this account.
A little before 1 o'clock, there was a shooting right down the street, about three or four houses down the street from my house. We heard 2 gunshots, and after the gunshot, I was eating breakfast at the time. I continued to eat breakfast, but when the police showed up, which is about 2 minutes later, that alerted us that there was something going on down the street. We were able to go down there. I was able to run down there, and there was a young man shot to death, shot in the head.
According to McIntosh, the victim appeared to be in his late 20s to early 30s and is believed to have recently moved into the area. While this event is unfortunate, McIntosh said that capital punishment is the answer and that recently amended crime laws must be enforced.
It's very important that we hold up these policies and that they are strengthened, and the Bahamas Constitution Party stands by that we must return to capital punishment. We must make sure that these stiffer penalties, not just on the books, but are enforced. And I think that when we look at it, many of the people who were here standing up today, witnessing what was happening, agreed that that is what must happen.
Stephen Gay, ZNS News.
Now, provided that there aren't any other incidents in the next 29 hours, the murder count for the year will stand at 127. That's 33 more murders than last year's record of 94. Here are some further year-on-year comparisons. Between January 2010 and October 2010, there were 72 murders. By this October, there were already 104 murders. The startling crime figures also show that attempted murder was up by at least 29% this year, rape by 38%, and attempted rapes 18%. The body of a man was found in Exuma yesterday. The body was found at the rear of a building in the settlement of Bahama Sound. Now, police on the island suspect that the victim may be a Haitian national who was aboard a Haitian sloop with 130-plus migrants, which was apprehended by Defense Force Marines on Christmas Day. In other news tonight, the Cabinet Office has announced that a state funeral will be held for the late Sir Clifford Darling, former Governor General of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Cabinet Minister, parliamentarian, and trade union leader next Thursday, January 5, 2012 at 11 a.m. at Zion Baptist Church, East and Shirley Streets. Interment will follow in the Western Cemetery. Sir Clifford died on December 27th. He was 89 years old. He's survived by his wife, Lady Igra Darling, his children, and other relatives. His body will lie in state in the foyer of the House of Assembly at 2:30. The Ministry of Education putting measures in place to ensure that hundreds of students attending 2 public schools here in the capital aren't endangered by a new highway which has been put in place. Today, education officials explained what adjustments parents will have to make. Here's Fern Carey.
Come Tuesday, January 3rd of next year, students attending C.W. Sawyer and the Government High School will have to adjust to a new environment because of the newly constructed Yellow Elderway. That's the road leading to the sports center. As a result, education officials have put measures in place to ensure student safety, particularly at the newly designated drop-off points at Government High School.
The northern gate at the Government High School will be the gate where parents will utilize for the entrance of their students. The main gate, which is facing almost due east, will not be used for the admission of students at this time.
Motorists are also being advised to observe pedestrian crossings to avoid traffic mishaps.
We know they're all very busy rushing to work, but our children's safety is of paramount importance to us, and we are urging them to respect it. Similarly, we are urging our students to be very careful, and they too must respect the pedestrian crossings. That is the area that they are to use to cross the highways.
School administrators and police officers are also expected to be visible in the area to assist with management of students.
Superintendent Bowe, Inspector Pinder, they have all assured us that senior police officers will be visible. Similarly, the Vice Principal at Government High, Mrs. Williams, she has assured us that their administrators will also be present. And I have no doubt, as usual, C.W. Sawyer's administrators, headed by Mrs. Saunders, will also be visible.
Now, once school opens, school administrators and police officers are expected to be in place for at least a week to ensure that students navigate this area safely. Fern Carey, ZNS News.
Free National Movement members of Parliament in Grand Bahama held a press conference today reacting to the terminations of more than 70 employees of Hutchison-Whampoa Ports. As Pakeisha Edgecombe reports, members of the governing party took exception to opposition comment on the situation.
The recent layoffs at Hutchison Port Holdings has triggered a great deal of reaction. On Thursday afternoon, Progressive Liberal Party candidates in the upcoming elections expressed concern about the future of Grand Bahama in light of the terminations. On Friday afternoon, local Free National Movement parliamentarians took issue with the way the opposition chose to deal with the matter and held a press conference to speak to the issue as well. Member of Parliament for Lucaya, Nico Grant.
I seize this opportunity to condemn the candidates of the Progressive Liberal Party who yesterday seized the opportunity to gain cheap political points by playing, in my opinion, with the lives of those persons who would have been affected as a result of this exercise. I cannot overemphasize how sympathetic we are as a government to these employees, and we shall do for them what we have done for others under similar circumstances.
While some may be quick to blame the government for what is transpiring on the island, Member of Parliament for Marcos City, Shivargo Lang, said that Grand Bahama's economic struggle did not come overnight.
Most dramatic impact on Grand Bahama's economy within the last 10 years was the closure of Royal Oasis. It took place under the Progressive Liberal Party's administration. And I simply ask, were they able to reopen that hotel? Were they able to secure the jobs of the 1,500 plus persons who lost their jobs? Because if it was so easy, if they are able to do all of these things now, where is the evidence of that impactfulness in terms of what happened to those Royal Oasis workers? Grand Bahama's economy today continues to feel the dramatic impact of the closure of Royal Oasis. We must not play games with people's emotions or people's minds.
Member of Parliament for the Pine Ridge constituency, Kwesi Thompson, and Chairman of the Grand Bahama F&M Council, Senator David Thompson, noted that while this latest termination process is of grave concern, the government continues to do all in its power to cushion the blow of the global economic crisis through infrastructural and social relief programs.
We see things like the Broadwalk at Williamstown. We see things like the expansion of the Rand Memorial Hospital. We see things like the Sister Mary Patricia School. We see things like the government complex. These are things that provide not just necessary infrastructure improvement, but provide thousands or hundreds of jobs for Bahamians.
As it relates to the National Jobs Program, where more than 1,000 Grand Bahamians, young and mature persons, are finding a way to have a paycheck weekly, which substantially impacts them, not just for the short term, but over the next several months, because it's a program that runs for at least a year.
Well, we have more tonight on the termination of the 70-plus employees of Hutchison Port Holdings on Grand Bahama.
Well, according to a press statement issued by the Ministry of Labor and Social Development, the government has been apprised of the 71 employees who were recently terminated from Hutchison Ports in Freeport. To assist these individuals, the statement says various government agencies, including the Department of Labor, Department of Social Services, and the National Insurance Board, will offer similar services as has been done in the past with other displaced workers. These services, the statement says, will include social assistance, registration for the unemployment benefit, and the employment skills data bank. Counseling services, both financial and spiritual, will also be provided by other social partners. Services will be available early in the new year. Well, this Junkanoo season has not come without controversy. Chairman of the JCNP, Silbert Ferguson, told ZNS News about how judges are chosen and what's being proposed to improve the process. Here's Giovanni Stewart.
It's a cry that's come out of just about every Junkanoo parade in recent memory. They rob us. But contrary to conspiracy theories out there about planted judges and the like, Chairman of the Junkanoo Corporation of New Providence, Silbert Ferguson, says the organization goes through much effort to make the judge selection process as fair as possible.
We aggressively go out to the public and ask for volunteers to come in and sign up to be judges in the two parades. Those judges then go through a course. They are then tested on their knowledge of what they have learned in the course, and then they are randomly selected, if they pass the course, to go out there and judge the parades.
The randomly selected judges are then trained and sent out to collect those coveted scores. But Ferguson says sometimes what the public hears and sees versus the trained eyes and ears of the judges differs.
The judges have a very difficult job on the street. And these groups are not easy to judge. They're very, very difficult to judge because they throw a lot of different things at you. And you just got to make a firm and quick decision, and you have a split second to do it.
Ferguson says a number of new ideas have been put to the table over the years to try and refine the judging process, including having 10 members from each group serve as judges.
Some of the ideas of the system were not clear. And you know, when I say not clear, if each group is going to send 10 judges, are you able to judge your own group? Or are you able to then draw the line between two other groups collaborating on what needs to happen in the process? And so we have to make sure we investigate it thoroughly before we sign off on it.
The JCNP chairman says they will vote on the idea early in the new year as the planning process begins anew. Meantime, they are investigating another new concept, a 3-tier system.
We're looking at the professional judge, the musician, the artist, and the dancer. We're looking at the teacher side of it, and then we're looking at the public side of it. And so if we're able to bring 3 completely different bodies together of judges, then we'll have a completely different cross-section of how we look at that parade.
All in an effort to improve the Junkanoo judging process. However, no major changes are on tap for the New Year's Day parade. Giovanni Stewart, ZNS News.